Good afternoon, everybody. You're all very welcome to this tutorial in how to use Zoom for Zoom meetings. It's great to see so many people here. For those who are just beginners and those who are intermediates, I hope that you're going to find something useful in what we show you today. We're going to start our meeting with prayer. And the theme of today's prayer is Saint Columba, who is the patron saint of Derry. And this tutorial is to help us learn how to use Zoom as a method of engagement. And I've chosen Saint Columba as a suitable theme because he was born 1500 years ago, this coming 2021. He went out and he crossed the rough seas over to Scotland. So he went out. So his method of communication was the boat, walking boat. We should sort of look on a tool like Zoom in a similar vein. We can use this tool to go out and share what our faith, share what we're learning in our parishes, share what it is that we know of Jesus, and help us spread Jesus's message. So the theme of Saint Columba is fitting for today's tutorial. High King of Heaven, Almighty Father of us all, as your servant, Saint Columba established a community built on love and trust, so grant that in all humility we may be your hands and your voices here on earth, working to build up the community of faith in the name of your Son, our Saviour, Jesus Christ. Amen. In today's tutorial, we're just going to go through some of the functions and the icons that are on the screen on your laptop and on your mobile phone if you're using Zoom on either devices. We'll indicate how to mute, how to switch on your video and off your video, the chat function, and the screen sharing function. We'll also go through on how to help you schedule a meeting on Zoom and how to manage the invitations for Zoom. We'll also give you an explanation, and you can experience a breakout room and the polls function. We'll give you tips on Zoom etiquette and how to position your camera, your laptop, the camera on your laptop with lighting for best lighting. We'll also go through the differences between the licensed Zoom option and the paid for option. We'll also touch on the comparisons between Zoom meetings and Zoom webinars. This graphic here just highlights the icons that you will see, and you will be able to see most of these icons on your Zoom screen at the moment. If you cannot see them, just move your mouse down to the bottom of your screen and you should see the icons appear. Over on the left, we have the microphone icon, and at the moment I have that open so everybody can speak if they wish. But sometimes that mic can be muted, and if it's muted, you'll see a little red line across the mic icon, and then you will be asked in your meetings if you wish to speak and asked to unmute yourself. And if you're asked to unmute, you just select that icon and click it, and then you would be able to speak for everybody else to hear what you're saying. Next to that, we have the icon for the video, and it says stop video. So again, that icon is on at the moment and I can see you all, and likewise you can see me. if to switch your video off, you just select that icon and click it, and it will switch your video off. A red line will appear through the icon. We won't be able to see you, but you will be able to hear us. And if you have your mic unmuted, we will be able to hear you. So you can choose if to mute yourself or switch your camera off. Sometimes it's useful to be able to switch your camera off if there's a lot of people in the meeting and perhaps your broadband connection for whatever reason might be poor on that meeting. If you switch the video off, it opens up and widens the broadband connection to your connection, and you find that very, very useful. It's you only need a little bit of broadband for sound and for hearing what we are saying, but for video you need much more broadband, so it needs to be a stronger signal. So it's useful for you to know that in a meeting you can switch your video off, and that usually helps with a better signal to your device or your PC. The other icon that you can see there is the chat, and we're going to use the chat function today. The chat is very useful. Chat, what they mean is you're just typing, so you can use your keyboard to send little messages. So I would ask you to start using that chat today, just to get yourself used to it. So if you type into the chat today, tell us who you are and where you're from. I can see those messages and others can see them too. If you select your chat function, the chat panel will open up on the right hand side of your screen, and you can see the different messages that people are putting in there. So feel free to use that today, and if you have any questions as we move through the lesson, put those questions in there, and we'll be able to pick up on those questions as they come through. If you wish to speak to, you can use the reactions icon, and there's wave signals and thumbs up there. You can use it. And also up on the top right hand corner, you will see an icon for gallery or speaker view. If you choose either one of those two now, and you can test them now, you will see that depending on which option you choose, you will be able to see all of the speakers. So you'll be able to see me, and you'll be able to see other participants in the Zoom meeting. Depending on what device you're using, you'll be able to see 2 or maybe 6. It just depends on what you're using. But if you're on a PC, you should see an up arrow and a down arrow, and you can scroll through that to see who else is joining us on our meeting today. First little tip we're going to go through with you today is positioning the camera that you're using. Your camera would be on your mobile device or on your laptop if you're using it. You can also use an external camera if you wish, but I would assume that most people are using their laptop or mobile device for today's meeting and other meetings as well. The first tip to do is to ensure that your camera, where the lens is, that it's at eye level. So the device, my laptop that I'm using today, there is a green light, and that is where the lens is, the camera lens is, and it is at my eye level. So I can focus on that green light, and I know that I am looking at you at the same eye level as yourself, as if we were meeting face to face. The other good tip to use is if you're using a mobile phone, ensure that the mobile phone is landscape, not portrait, because that's if the phone is portrait, that means it's the long way down, and what that does is it what it creates is two black bands either side of the video. So it may appear fine to you, but what I see is that there's two bands either side of it. So it's always best to ensure that your mobile phone is landscape. Another good tip is to ensure that the light is on your face so that you're well lit. So here today, I am facing the window. My laptop that I'm using for this presentation is facing me, and I'm facing the window. So it's the window, the laptop, and myself. So I'm well lit. In the evening time when light is dark, I would ensure that there is a light in front of me so that I'm lit up. So it's always handy to use to make sure you're set up that way. One of the tips is make sure that there isn't a light behind you. Because if there's a light behind you or above you, visible in the screen, it's very distracting for others who are joining the meeting. So ensure that the lighting is either to the side, not too bright. Ideally, it is in front of you. You can see in this screen here what I mean by ensuring the light. So the light is to the side, as you can see, to my left side, but the window is in front of me and my laptop is facing me. So you can see that I'm lit up and the lighting is natural. Now we're going to go through joining a meeting. So when you open up Zoom on your phone or on your laptop, the four icons, the orange new meeting, the join icon, the schedule icon, and the share screen are visible both on laptop, as you can see here in this shot, and on your mobile phone is the same, not in the same position. So to join a meeting, you select the join icon, or perhaps you have been sent an invitation to join a meeting. This usually is what the invitation that's automatically generated by the Zoom system. And you can see that it contains the information of the topic, the time, the date, and the important bit of information is the Zoom meeting URL, the meeting ID, and the passcode. And this illustrates it a little better. I have grayed out the non-essential information that we here use, and you can see a bit clear of the vital bits of information that are required. You're saying who is inviting you to the Zoom meeting, the topic of the Zoom meeting, time and date, URL, meeting ID, and passcode. You can edit that email as you wish, but it's important that you don't change the Zoom meeting URL, meeting ID, or passcode. They're unique to the meeting that you're doing. The URL is this long link that you can see here. And when you click that, it's going to open up in your browser. For those who are not familiar with what a browser is, your browser is usually going to be Google Chrome or maybe Safari or Explorer on some machines. So when you click that link, which is called a URL, that will automatically open up on the browser that's on your PC or your mobile phone. And for those who are into table quizzes, URL means Uniform Resource Locator. But a URL is the link that you see at the top of your browser window. And on Chrome, you can input the URL into the Google search, as it says there, search Google or type in the URL. So you can paste in the URL from your invitation, or if you click it, it will open up the browser just like this. The URL will automatically go into the browser URL space at the top of the screen, and it will bring you straight to your Zoom meeting. The other bit of information on your Zoom invitation is the meeting ID and passcode. Sometimes the link may not open for various reasons, and you could, the link I mean is the URL, and you could copy that URL as I just previously shown into your browser, or you could instead join the Zoom meeting with the join from the join icon, and type in the meeting ID and passcode when prompted, just like this. So you will type in the meeting ID, which you can see in the invitation, type it into the join meeting as it asks there. Or on a mobile phone, it may look like this, and you type it in there. And when you have typed in all the characters, you will have the option to join it. The join button will turn blue and you click join. Now we're going to show you about how to schedule a meeting. To schedule a meeting in your Zoom dashboard on your mobile device or on your laptop PC, you select the schedule button on the bottom left hand corner here in this screenshot. When you schedule a meeting, the information that opens up is the information that's going to be used to create the electronic invitation that you will be emailing or sharing out. So there is the topic that you fill in, you choose the time, the date, and if however long you want the Zoom meeting to continue for. In the setup, it would have automatically asked your location. So location here is London. And then the meeting ID is automatically generated. You will see there that the personal meeting ID, which is unique to you, is mentioned, but we'll not cover that in today's tutorial. It's another subject in itself. By default, passcode will be used to enter the meeting, and it will be pre-selected, and the waiting room will be pre-selected. It's important that you, for security purposes, that you use the passcode. And that's because that passcode is like the key, the permission to enter the meeting. And you just don't want anyone turning up. So that gives them the permission to enter the meeting. Automatically too, here when it's selected, they will go into the waiting room. I would highly recommend that you always ensure that invited guests do go into the waiting room. We'll show you how that works in further on in the tutorial. It's best that they are into the waiting room so that you have the option to admit them. So you probably will know who they are. And if you don't, and you don't wish to allow them in, you don't need to admit them. So that's the function of the waiting room. You will see there that there's an option for the host video to be off or on, and the participants video to be off and on. I would recommend that the host video be on, and if you wish, you can have the participants video on as well. For today's meeting, I ensured that the participants, as in you, your video and your mic was on, and so that you just need to join the meeting naturally. There was nothing for you to select. You will see then also there are other options, and at the bottom of the screen, there's a bottom of the invitation, should I say, there's an advanced options. Sometimes that advanced option might be closed, in which case you select it and it will drop down, and it goes through some of the options. One in particular is mute participant on entry, which is useful. I would recommend that participants are muted so that you're not picking up sounds of them settling down for the meeting, moving chairs, coughing, things like that. So they're settling into the meeting nice and quietly and are ready to join it. You also have an option to record the meeting. You save that invitation, and when you do, it will show you the meeting invitation, and you have the option to close or copy that invitation. If you select copy, it will automatically save it to the memory on your device, and you have the option then of opening up your email and carefully clicking on the email in the subject area and pasting what has been saved to your memory into the email. For the purpose of our meeting today, I have grayed out on this screen the unnecessary information. You don't really need to include it. The vital bit of information is what we see here in the black area: the topic, the time, the URL, the meeting ID, and the passcode. And that is what you would email out to your invitees. Depending on how your Zoom is set up, this may open, when you create the invitation, it may automatically open up your email, and it gives you the option of sending it to those contacts you wish to send the invitation to. I will show you now in the tutorial how you can come back and view your scheduled meetings. So on your home screen again, up at the top, you'll see the gray icon called Meetings. It's very easy to miss, but if you select that Meetings icon, it will open up the screen and you will see all the scheduled meetings, if you have any, that is. You'll see them scheduled there on the left-hand side. If you have no meetings scheduled, that area will be blank. Or if you have, you will see what we're seeing here. You have the option of copying the invitation. So you can just select copy and it will save it to the memory on your device until you paste it in. You also have the option to go in and edit. So you can edit the time, the start times, the dates on that Zoom meeting. Zoom is really, really handy if you want to have quick meetings. There are quick ways of creating the necessary information to share for that Zoom meeting. I use quick meetings most weeks. So if I'm having a conversation on the telephone with someone and we feel it's necessary to actually chat that through face to face, we can quickly create a quick Zoom meeting and pass the information to the other person that is required to join it. So I'm just going to go through the steps of that. If you go to your dashboard and you select the orange icon, New Meeting, and it will open up your Zoom account and your video will be switched on. You have the option to switch it on and switch it off. So what you want to do is you need to get the information that for that specific meeting to the other person or persons you wish to invite. There's a couple of ways you can do that. The easiest is to select the participants icon down the bottom. It will say just one participant because that's you and you wish to invite others to it. So select the participants icon down there at the bottom, and the panel will open up on the right hand side and you will see the invite icon, which you can select. When you open that window, it will give you 2 options and some other information. You can copy the invite link. What they mean by that is that's the URL. You can copy the URL. You can copy the invitation itself. Or what I normally do is, if I'm on the phone to that person, is I say to them, open up your Zoom account and input the Zoom meeting ID, which is in this instance is 8631500232, and you need to give them the passcode and they will be able to join the meeting. Other option is to just select that green badge up on the top left hand corner of your screen, and you will see that the meeting information is there as well, including the meeting ID, the passcode, or just the link. So you can copy the link and email that URL, that link, to them so they pick it up on their email on the other side and join the meeting. So either or, it's handy. We're going to move on to hosting a Zoom meeting, and we're just going to run through some of the information that you need to that. So we have already gone through creating the invitation to the meeting. You've sent your invitation out, and it's now time for you to start that meeting. So just like you joined this meeting today at 2:30, you had received the invitation and the Zoom meeting details. That was the link and the Zoom meeting ID and the passcode. I gave you the option of not using the passcode today. You just needed the URL and you were brought straight in to the waiting room. For the host, this is what the host sees when someone is in the waiting room. At the top of the screen, there is the option to say who you are. It says you're in the waiting room, and there is the blue admit button that you can select. If you have your panel open on the right hand side, the same information displays in there, and if other people are joining the meeting, it'll be a long list there of all the others. As more people join, you up at the top, just over the message icon, another icon will appear saying admit all. So we only have one person to admit in this screen. So I can just choose either blue admit buttons, and that participant can come in. When they do enter into the room, into the meeting room, you can give them permissions for use during the meeting. And one of those is to make them a co-host. If you get more familiar with Zoom, you could make them the host and they could swap over. For the moment, we'll just concentrate on making them a co-host. The reason you may find it useful to make someone a co-host is on a meeting just like we have today. So we have over 30 people join our meeting today. So people started to enter the meeting before 2:30 when the Zoom meeting started, but there was also more entering just in the few minutes after that as well. So on today's meeting, we have Lizzie Ria, and Lizzie has been admitting the other participants as they have been joining. So it frees up the hosts, in this case myself, to concentrate on giving the presentation, and it's a very useful feature to have. If you make someone a co-host, they also have the ability to share a screen, but you can share the screen without being a co-host as well. We're just going to go through the share screen options here, And this is one that very often trips people up of how to share their own screen and how to allow someone else to share their screen. Share screen option is useful for the host and for allowing the host to give any participant the option to share their screen. You may wish to share a screen, PowerPoint presentation on the share screen, or something that you've seen on a browser. You may wish to share the screen for various reasons. So to do so, at the bottom, hover over the bottom of your window, Zoom window, and you will see the share screen option. And just to the right of it, you will see a little arrow that points upwards. Just select that, and you will see that it gives you some options. And you can see at the moment for this, I have said one participant can share at a time. At the moment, I haven't allowed you to share any of the participants to share their screen for the purpose of this tutorial. But if you select the advanced settings as host, it will open up this screen here. You can see that the option for one participant to share at a time is selected, but I have at the moment only selected that it's only allow me to share my screen, as in I am the host. If I choose all participant, that will give you the option to share your screen. Another option I should indicate here is the chat. So at the start of this tutorial, I had introduced you to the chat function. The chat is the typing function. And on the right hand side of your column, if you select participants or chat, but if you select the participants for the moment, you will see the list of participants on the right hand side, and you will see where you can put in a message that you can send to everybody. And there's also the option there of sending a file, or just to the right of the file icon, there's a little icon with 3 small dots. If you select that, and you'll see that options open up, and you have one of them is the save chat. Now that's very useful to know if perhaps we were sharing something through the chat, be it a file or be it a link to another website that perhaps you wished to use or come back to after the Zoom meeting. If you select the save chat, it will save it to your device, and you can come back. And what I do is I paste that into my notepad on my device, and I can know that when I come back after the meeting, it's going to be there. There's some other options for the host as well. So for those who are joining today's meeting, you probably won't have the security badge down at the bottom of your screen. So I'm indicating this here for the purposes of you as a host. So when you are a host of a meeting, you will have the security option, the security icon at the bottom of your screen. I'm showing here what happens when I click that icon. It opens up many of the options. The first one is lock meeting. So a co-host and a host will have the security option. And for the purposes of today's meeting, Lizzie had co-host options. After our meeting was started, she selected lock meeting. So at the moment, our meeting is locked. No one else can enter that meeting. And it's useful for you to know this option as a host. So once the meeting starts, you select the security icon, and lock meeting option will be there, and you can lock the meeting and be assured that the meeting there's no one else coming into the meeting, so you can concentrate on the presentation itself. You can you see there that we have the enabled waiting room, with the waiting room enabled, and we have options given to the participants. So I've allowed you to chat. I haven't allowed you to share the screen yet. I've given you the option to unmute or yourselves and to start your video. And say the meeting is disrupted for any particular purpose. So what you want to do is quickly get that situation under control. What you will want to do is ideally remove that person or persons from the Zoom meeting, but that might take a second or two to do that. What you can do very, very quickly is select the security option and just suspend all participants' activities. So that gives you immediate control. Participants can't speak, they can't chat, nothing can happen. What it gives the host the option then is to select those participants who are disrupting the presentation and remove them from the room, remove them from the meeting. Then you can click that option again and just resume on. It gives you good control and it causes the minimum disruption. It's particularly useful if you have a large meeting and you have a co-host. So if anyone disrupted our meeting today, I can be assured that Lizzie in the background can suspend the meeting if necessary, or she can eject those people and then resume the meeting, and just makes things run much, much smoother and gives assurance to the host that the presentation can run smoothly. I'm going to share with you now the experience of a breakout room. A breakout room is really useful in events like this, where we can just break out and chat about any of the things that have been presented to you today. You can meet other people in the breakout room. For the purposes of today's meeting, we have 30 people in the meeting. So I could select 3 breakout rooms, and that would be 10 in each of the breakout rooms. The host wishes to create the breakout rooms. You select the breakout room icon on the bottom of your screen, and this window will open up. It will, as you select the numbers of rooms to choose, on the bottom left of this screen, you can see it will count down the number of participants in the room, create those breakout rooms. So for the purpose of today, we have 30 in the breakout room. So I'm going to select, say, 6 breakout rooms. And as we break into those breakout rooms, I'm going to give you a few questions to discuss in the breakout room. So first of all, it would be useful if you could introduce yourselves. Please tell us what parish you're from. And from today's meeting, discuss what you're going to try out, what you liked about today's presentation. Is there anything that you would like to try out? And is there one thing you would like help with? We can either help you with today, or we can discuss that as we come out of the break room to see if we can help you further. So I'm going to start the breakout rooms now, and we're going to give you 3 minutes for the purposes of today. Okay, and we'll chat to you when we all come back.
Welcome back, everybody.
That finished far too soon. We were just getting into it.
And Tony, one last question for me. How can Paul McCafferty and Teresa be joining us from the forest and the beautiful greenery and the rest of us are in surroundings?
The beauty of Colmore.
Ask Pat and Bonville.
How do you share your screen if you were doing a PowerPoint presentation? I was doing a webinar there and I noticed that the person had a presentation and the person appeared in the top right-hand corner. Can you do that? Yeah. How do we do that?
Down at the bottom of your screen, if you hover over the bottom of your screen there, the buttons should come up. Now you won't have, you will have the share option today. You should see share option.
Yes, I do. Yeah, share screen.
Yeah. And I need to allow you to share the screen.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So if I allowed you to share the screen, you would click that and a window will open up and you will choose from it what part of that window that opens up you wish to share. So for example, I have the slides are open on my computer here now today, and the Zoom window. So I have two windows open on my laptop. So if I click that now, it will present me with two windows, and I will choose the PowerPoint presentation to share.
Perfect. Yeah.
That's how it works. All right. So there's Mary from Derry has just shared her screen. Do you see that there, Seamus?
You just click share screen.
Yeah. Exact same way. Exact same.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. That's perfect.
And for the start of this meeting, I deliberately locked that so we could do this. Right? Who's the smart white man? Good one.
I just wanted to see if it worked. So it works.
Of course it works.
Isn't that a beautiful little nativity scene?
Class. Very good. Very good.
Right, I'm going to stop the share now. It works. I didn't know how to do that. Now I know.
Yep. So now we have a poll here. So I'm just going to do a quick poll because you have a poll option. And you should see that opening up on your screens now. And I just have two quick, short, easy questions there for you to answer. And I can see the poll working away. And that poll is telling me that 62%, now we're up in 75. Oh, we're the horse is going bolting here now. We're on 93. 93% have voted. Oh, we're on 100%. Excellent. So I can close that. And it's telling me that 28% of the people who are here today have hosted a Zoom meeting and 72 have not. So there's a good, I should be able to share these.
Very good.
I think you can see them. Poll is good for getting a meeting going, getting the participants involved. That's where it's useful to come into play. Lizzie, can I ask you a question? You use Zoom a lot in youth ministry, isn't that correct?
Yep, I do, yep.
And how you just started using it in March. And how useful is it, and what is the main thing you're learning from using online?
Zoom is fantastic. We've been using it, as Tony said, from March. This week alone, for example, last night we did a Youth Alpha programme throughout the diocese. So there was 25 young people came on last night, and this is our second round of Alpha. We did Alpha in May, so 25 young people came on. We spoke at the start like a meeting like this. We split then sent in a link through the chat that they could go and watch the Alpha video, and then we went into breakout rooms and the young people were able to discuss. They were also why it's so amazing is that group of young people wouldn't ever be able to speak to each other if we were doing it face to face, because we had people in Inishowen, we had people in Mahara, we had people from all around the diocese, so that was really good. And tonight we'll be using Zoom again for our scholarship. They have a youth link coming in to talk to them for an hour and a half on Zoom, so they're able to go into breakout rooms, and then we use Zoom to go live. So say like this function, Tony didn't speak to you about it, but Julia used it last night. They had Zoom and they then went live to Facebook. So there's lots of functions that it's used for, and the young people are very technological savvy when they're coming to do things. So they're teaching me things as we go. But no, it's really, really handy tool, and I've been lost without it if I didn't have it during lockdown.
And it's noticeable. This is the thing that we're learning right across the field. We seem to be coming now, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with regards COVID, but I don't believe we're going to finish with online tools like this. I think it's really, really useful. I've hosted a few over October and November of groups all over Ireland who otherwise would have had to travel to the meetings and pay the petrol, the travel, the whole lot, and stay. So this way, online meetings, using online tools like this are really, really useful. So Lizzie, thanks very much for sharing that. And anyone who doesn't know Lizzie Ria, with an accent from Scotland, living in Greencastle. But Lizzie, Redcastle, excuse me. Lizzie is responsible for youth ministry here in the diocese, and the team, including Jules and Catherine, Yvonne, Aoife, and anyone else, Charlotte, Emmett, everybody else. They've been doing phenomenal work online, and there's great learning from us all in that. And I'm going to share my screen to briefly go through the Zoom options. The free Zoom account, if you want to have a group meeting like this, you're limited to 40 minutes. Now, you still have the options of the functions like breakout rooms, polls, and chat. You still have them, but you're limited to 40 minutes. But with the free version, you can have one-to-one meetings with no time limit and all the same functions. So the free version, one-to-one is fine, is allowed, can be used. But if you're having group meetings, it's at 40 minutes. And what happens is it counts down the 40 minutes at the end. You have to log out and then you have to log back in. The paid for version has different tiers, but the simplest one, which starts about $11.99 a month, there is no time limit on it, and you can have up to 100 people in the meeting. A question I'm asked often is, if you pay for the pro version, do you get additional bandwidth? No is the answer. All it does is it gives you additional functionality, but it makes no difference about bandwidth at all. So the bandwidth is dependent on you and each of the participants that are in it. So you could have the 35 we've on here. Some of us, not today, lucky enough, but some of us could be affected by poor bandwidth, but it's their bandwidth, not the rest of us or the running. So you're all joining it on your own bandwidth. So there's no difference in the paid version or otherwise. And another one here is meetings, Zoom meetings and Zoom webinars. Today we're on a Zoom meeting, and I'm just going to briefly explain the difference between the two. Basically, a Zoom meeting is like we are today. We're able to see one another. We're able to share, if the host allows you to share our screens. All of us are able to turn our audio on or off, and we can see everybody else in attendance. So we're on a Zoom meeting today. Meetings are the most popular. A Zoom webinar is different. If we were on a webinar, you wouldn't be able to see the other participants. You would only be able to see the host, myself, the co-host, or other panelists. And it's those panelists that would be sharing their video, audio, and screen share. So it would be very useful for a talk, for instance. where they just have the guest speaker and the host, and everybody else is just listening, but they have no way of engaging unless the host specifically allows them. So more often than not, a Zoom meeting is probably more appropriate for most gatherings, online gatherings like this. Yes, Father?
If you're hosting a webinar, I presume you as host can see all the participants.
You can't actually know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody can see each other.
Yeah, only can see each other. I was on a Zoom webinar the other night, and there was 300 people on it. So that's where, you know, be impossible to see them all. So that's where it comes into play. It was appropriate for that. The subject matter on that webinar was quite serious, so it suited that subject matter, and the speakers were able to speak freely. So the webinar was really suited to that. Yeah, really good.
Thank you.
Now you do have the chat. If the host allows the chat, or there's another option for questions on webinars, I believe you can post your question to the chat, but it's not really suitable for engagement like that. Someone else asked there, why does the chat not give access to all in attendance? A very good question. It's because when I set this account up for security, in case we had anyone that wasn't part of the group, I didn't want private chats going on to avoid disruption. And that is because I had published it publicly. If I hadn't published it publicly and everybody had registered, I would have opened up the chat so people can speak privately. So that was the only reason today that the private chat was closed.
Well, what about my questions? The people in the diocesan office having greenery? We can't.
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Michael, you
Yes,
can look at me.
Yeah,
I'm in San Francisco. You can do that. You can go anywhere.
So yeah, to answer that question, when you use the app either on your phone or on your laptop, you can have virtual backgrounds, and you can whiz off to any part of the world or any part of the diocese if you want, and change
any part of outer space.
Where you want to go?
Thank you.
Jules, I like your background. Very good. So, what you're looking for is the magic box of settings. So the exact thing you're looking for is virtual backgrounds. And that could be a still shot, a movie, or you can add your own. So instead of me just pointing out now where it is, explore the icons, and you're looking for the virtual backgrounds. It's hidden in there. Go and explore that, and we'll come back to it if you find it. There's probably a lot of things to take in, but if you have any issues, your two options is use the Zoom help. It's very useful, or just give me a call and I can help you the best way I can.
Tony, I think there's one question there from Kilray that maybe you didn't cover. The security icon is missing in my screen. Is it only for use by the host?
I believe it is by the host and co-host.
You see next to stop video on the screen at the bottom, there's a little arrow. You press that, it says choose virtual background. Is that right?
That should be correct, Mary. Yeah. Yeah.
You can actually do it while you're sitting here.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what Father Platt said.
Where do you want me to go?
Oh, yes.
Which part of the diocese would you like me to go to?
Leave that to the bishop.
That's no crack.
The ID and the passwords, they're automatically selected by Zoom, are they? The ID and the password?
When you create an invitation, it assigns a unique ID and link to that particular meeting. There's another option that you can customize the meeting link, but it's another lesson in itself. So
That's for round two. Round two.
It's round two. yeah.
Sorry, Tony, a few times that I've hosted the meetings, I've overwritten the password, the passcode. Sometimes they're quite long.
Yes.
I've just made it 4 digits, just make it handier for people.
Yes, you can do that. You can indeed. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it for large meetings, should I say. It's just the link. But for small ones, Emery, yeah, keep it simple. Will you find it easier to use and set up your own host meetings?
I think so. After that, so thank you.
We'll ring Father Pat.
Yeah, I just make sure I'm in the country.
Okay, everybody. Listen, thanks again.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you very much.
Great attendance. Great to see you all, and hope it's very, very useful to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Lizzie.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
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 Bye.